Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Boulder Punch Podcast. I believe this episode is titled The Divide. And for those of you just joining us, this podcast is a love letter to Resident Evil. It's going to cover all things Resident Evil. My name is Itchy Tasty, and today we have with us our leader, Bio Rezi.
Hello, everyone.
And we also have T-Virus.
Hello.
And he doesn't have a mic, but he is basically our lead for podcasting, Tofu. He is with us, so I just want to give a shout out to him.
Yes,
he just messaged hi.
at least we know he's still with us.
Yeah, he's running covert ops for us. Well, I'd like to get straight into it. On our last episode, we discussed basically Resident Evil, like our first impressions of the first Resident Evils, like 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, and 4. And I'd like to discuss Resident Evil 5 today. I think we could lead with you, Bio Rezi. What were your first impressions of Resident Evil 5?
I was I was excited for the game, to be honest, when it first come out. I was looking forward to obviously coming from Resident Evil 4. The hype was, I don't know if you recall, when did it come out? Was it 2008? I'm thinking, but the hype for Resident Evil 5 was massive, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe Resident Evil 4 kind of is to blame for that.
Yeah. But I mean, I like 5. I mean, we'll go into a bit more detail. But yes, it started off really well. But maybe, I mean, the criticism is always it's too much action. And I think obviously it was the big change between 4 and 5 was definitely the co-op. What do you think about that?
I think that's a fair statement.
So 5 kind of came out of nowhere for me. I wasn't keeping track of new games, and my friend's mum actually bought it for her to play on, and during the night I stayed over there, and we stole the game from her and ended up sitting up for the whole night playing it. Because it was multiplayer and it was a pretty decent multiplayer, so I think it kind of got that effect on me where, well, we just jumped right into it and completed it in a whole night. So yeah, I actually quite enjoyed it.
Can I just say something? Well. Did you say your friend's mum had a...
Yeah.
What a cool mum.
She had a PlayStation 3 in her room and he had one in his room. So we used to just basically steal all the games from her, and yeah, she used to play them.
Yeah, I mean, that was a benefit, wasn't it, the co-op?
It made the game. If it didn't have the co-op, I think my opinion of it might greatly differ.
But then again, I suppose, how does it... But as a single player, if you're a big fan of single player games, you can see how the co-op did get in the way. So it's like a double-edged sword, isn't it, really?
Yes, I think what their intentions with Resident Evil 5 was to capture all the magic that Resident Evil 4 brought to the table. But I think that they thought that the only thing that they could do to really, expand upon that was to add a friend to it, like to where you played with somebody else. I will say, the first time I played Resident Evil 5, like I've always been my mentality's always been with Resident Evil. It's a single player game. So when I bought it for the Xbox 360, I didn't try to play it with anybody. I know that it was online capable, but I played through the entire thing by myself, and it's a little frustrating. Sheva, she tries so hard, but
God bless her.
but at the computer, the AI just a lot of times didn't work. I mean, you could barely I could get a splinter in my finger, and she'd want to use a first aid spray. It's like
that's
wow.
A fair point.
And she picks up things that you don't want her to pick up, and you
on
got
the
to
bright
sit there.
side, you wouldn't turn your back and she's all of a sudden being carried away by some sweaty bald guy.
That is true. That is very true.
I mean, you could also say like Ashley was a bit useless in 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose
couldn't even
it
go
added
down
to the challenge, but
she couldn't even go down a ladder.
Yeah.
So, while we're on the topic of Resident Evil 5, what are some standout moments from Resident Evil 5 that really just make it stick with you? I mean, obviously, our podcast gets its name from Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, that's why I laughed.
But Bio Resi, well, actually, let's start with you this time, Tom. What's some standout memories that you have from Resident Evil 5?
Well, I think the most standout part of that game in general is being chased by the guy with the chainsaw and thinking, what the hell am I going to do now? As well as that, the executioner right at the beginning when he just smashes through the wall and you're just there like, oh, I thought it was just these guys here. Okay.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
And then you don't know whether to shoot him in the face or run. I think the first time I ran the whole length of the map twice and ran all through the doors and still died a few times. So,
how about you, Bio Resi?
I'd say a big standout for me on Resident Evil 5 is definitely Wesker. I mean, whatever you say about Resident Evil 5, it has got one of the best villains in the game, as in Wesker. He is pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, he definitely steals the show when he's on screen.
Yeah.
He always will.
Yes, he is definitely missed.
I'm just trying to think of going through my head now, like all the creatures in the game. What were them insects called? The Reapers.
Reapers, yes.
God damn, I hated them.
Oh, yes, they're not a fond. It's not a fond memory for me.
I think there's a video of us getting taught a few lessons by them on Mercenaries. I think.
Oh yes, on the channel, didn't we? Yeah, on the channel. Yeah. Oh.
All of a sudden, turning around and bam, right in your face, and we're like, I think I just ran away, and I was like, yeah, you can deal with those. I still didn't really get the controls. I was still relearning the controls at that point, so I just ran. I was like, yeah, there's one there. I'm over here now.
One positive thing you could say about the game, though, the graphics were awesome at the time.
Yeah.
I remember, like, when I first seen it, I think I got it on 360 at the same time as well, which is strange because I'm predominantly a PlayStation player, like. But yeah, I was blown away. It looked fantastic, especially. I mean, it still holds up really well today.
Yeah, I was very impressed at the time. I didn't have any complaints as far as the visuals. And even the controls were really smooth. I felt like they were better than Resident Evil 4. I mean, Resident Evil 4s were good, but I feel like that they improved in 5.
I did miss the menu. I didn't like the way you switched weapons. You know, you can carry forwards, or I don't know. I thought that was never quite gelled with that, but I could see what they were doing. They're trying to keep it like a faster pace and.
For me, it was smooth until you had to exchange between inventories. That's when it starts to get really confusing.
Yeah. When Trevor's picking up all the good stuff.
Yes. Yes. I think a standout memory for me, aside from the ridiculous, over-the-top volcano final battle. I don't know what you want to call that. I mean, that's obviously everybody's going to remember that, but I was really excited when I saw the liquors. I think it's in 5-1 or 5-2. I believe it's 5-1. You're going through the Tricell facility, and you just come through that hallway, and there's glass windows, and there's liquors all up and down the walls and on the floor, and they're wanting you to be really quiet so they don't hear you.
Yeah, I forgot about that bit.
I was really excited for that because, I mean, by that point in the game, I mean, I said it on the last episode that Resident Evil has always been the zombies for me. I mean, I feel like a Resident Evil game without zombies is kind of a disappointment in a sense, not as a whole, but I mean, I feel a little let down because that's part of the reason I come to Resident Evil. I like the zombies and that kind of atmosphere. And when I saw the liquors, I was like, oh wow, that's something I expect. I want to see more of that. So that was a standout for me.
Yeah. What did you think of the whole bosses? No, like they had, what was the virus? Ouroboros. I can never say that. Ouroboros. But I thought the bosses let it down a bit. Apart from like Wesker, I thought loads of them you couldn't even quite make out. They were just all like spaghetti monsters.
Oh, the first one where you have to burn him up.
Yeah. Visually you couldn't quite. And then you go on the ship and you find a bigger spaghetti monster, and then in the sea there's another spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
One of the bosses that stuck out for me was the guy who injects himself. I can't remember his name, but he turns into the big squid thing that swims in the water, and you're fighting him on the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
his name?
I cannot remember. I just played through that, and I
have as well.
Loads of names are coming to my head, but they're all wrong. So
we'll call him Bob.
I thought Jasper. I don't know why. No idea where that came from.
Sorry for anybody in the watching this. That we don't have all our Resident Evil facts straight. Sometimes we forget things.
Oh my god!
Bob is quite legitimate though.
It kind of felt like a Metal Gear Solid style boss, like when they're dying, they want to talk to you and give you an epilogue before they die.
Yeah, they're always the best ones.
I'm just gonna do a quick little message to Tofu if you're listening, which you should be. Can you find the name out for us? Otherwise, it'll annoy me.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and
Irving.
Irving, yes.
Yeah,
that's the one.
God bless Google.
I'm going to go ahead and move it forward just a little bit. Can you think of anything about Resident Evil 5 that you didn't like things that you kind of wish would be different?
Okay. Maybe the way they used Jill a little bit, because I know she was like evil, but
yeah.
Part of me was like, oh man, it's Jill. What are you doing to her? And she's got blonde hair.
Dyed her hair and had a bad attitude.
Yes, I'll have to agree with you on that. I didn't really like Jill's execution in that game.
With Jill's appearance in general, I think they could have done something different at least. I would have rather somebody unnamed appeared out of nowhere as opposed to Jill dyeing her hair and going renegade.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'm just trying to think. What's the question again? Anything we didn't
I'm
like?
thinking of something that you wish would have been different. Something that you didn't really like as well in this game.
Maybe if they never killed Westcroft to the point where you think that he can't come back, it would have been nice if
open-ended.
Because he's such an awesome character. It would have been nice with the potential. Because I often think about how could you bring him back, and the only one I can think of is cloning him or something like that.
Yeah, for anybody going forward, a spoiler warning for Resident Evil 5 and 6 for sure.
You should have played it by now.
I really would hope that everybody has already played them, but there's really no coming back from being waist deep in lava in a volcano and taking 2 RPG shots to the face.
Yeah.
It's one headache at least.
It was a dream.
Wesker comes back with severe migraines.
If they had brought him back in Resident Evil 6, we'd all have been like, what?
Yeah.
I've got one thing that really annoys me about 5 though. Standing at a door on multiplayer, and the other person going, "Chris, come on, Chris, hurry up, Chris, come on!" Yes. And it's just like just go, and you're running and they're shouting, and you have a mental breakdown on the way, and then you don't even want to get there because you're just annoyed by them.
I can't tell you how many times I heard Sheva, "Come on, yeah, come on."
It really no. At least let there be like a break between them when they can't say it. I am guilty of pressing that button.
Yes, same here. I think we all do. We get in a hurry and we're just spamming the button, and then you start hearing them complain.
It's all good fun.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move forward into.
Well, before we go on to 6, can I just speak of something else about 5?
Sure. Go ahead.
One thing what I thought was one of the best things in 5, but it's not in the main game. The DLC, Lost in Nightmares. I don't know if you ever played that. I'm very
glad you brought that up because
Amazing.
I didn't get the DLC back on the Xbox 360, but when I bought the PS4 remaster, I got to experience that, and I actually really enjoyed the Jill and Chris. What was that called? The Lost in
Nightmares. Yeah, I think without 2, didn't it? The first one was Desperation. Is it Desperation? I've got a feeling it is, and then Lost in Nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah, the Lost in Nightmares, I was really impressed, especially the part where they kind of just took all your weapons from you,
Yeah,
and you're just walking around like, man, what do I do? And we get these things coming after me, and
yeah.
very
I
really
like the way you go
uncomfortable.
through the door as well. Little touches where it was like little nods, knowing the
Oh
door
yeah, where
opens
it
slowly.
zooms in on the door and it looks like the
Yeah,
loading screen, kind of.
yeah. But yeah, I thought it showed, but then again, it kind of showed the potential of what five could have been if they went in that direction.
Yeah, they like to give us all of these throwbacks to what they used to be. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. I think sometimes I think Resident Evil is guilty of trying to do everything.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
6.
And
Well, I
So
think
and
it's six sums it up. So
yeah,
we'll
and
go on
I
to six.
they had a
and,
breakdown.
and I applaud them for trying, but I mean, you're never going to make everybody happy. I mean, that's just a losing game right there.
Yeah.
But going forward, let's get on to Resident Evil 6. Where do
Yay,
I begin?
boo! Yay, boo! Yay,
Yeah.
boo!
This game, I think I'm not for sure, but from what I've read, I think that this game had the biggest budget of any Resident Evil game that they've ever made, and I believe it because it shows.
Yeah.
They really pushed the bar, or raised, or I would say raised the bar, but I mean it didn't really sit well with a lot of people.
In terms of content, I'm surprised there's not an episode called "The Kitchen Sink" because it literally had everything, didn't it?
Yes. Let's go on first impressions. Bio Resi, why don't you lead us with
Yeah.
your
My
first impression?
first impressions was really high when I played it because, like a lot of people, I started off on Leon's campaign because that was like the first one in your selection. And I do think, and I stand by it, that Leon's campaign itself is pretty cool and awesome. So I think that was kind of a little bit of a downfall because, in my opinion, everything after Leon's campaign was not as good. That set the bar, in my opinion.
See, I quite like, to be honest, the opening really done it for me. When I remember putting it in and really excited to play it, and the opening was just, it had everything: explosion, they had helicopters, had the first zombie in that car where you're thinking, is he alive? And bam, he's up and walking at you. And I think it had so much in it. And then right at the end, I was wondering, where is the whole Resident Evil 6 kind of going to come into it? And then I was actually complaining. I think it might have been to you. I complained to you saying there's no Resident Evil bit. There's no voiceover. And then all of a sudden it went Resident Evil, and I was like, that just completes it.
I think I'm trying to remember. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. It's just I'll be straight up honest. Resident Evil 6 just didn't sit well with me. I'm in that camp.
Yeah.
But I remember I really, really tried with Resident Evil 6. I started. I think I'm the only one that I've ever met. I started with Alex Wesker campaign,
Yeah.
and I actually enjoyed that campaign pretty well.
Jay Alex Wesker
thought
from Revelations 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the second podcast in the row. You've got this secret obsession with Revelations 2.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm a mess. Okay, Jake. Okay. Anyway, what is the name of that thing that chases you throughout?
Ustanach.
Yes, I like him.
Yeah.
That was really that was an adrenaline rush. Every time he showed up, things got serious.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that campaign for the most part. And then that's obviously a high point for me in that game. To me, that he is the closest, or the Ustanach, or whatever it is the closest that Resident Evil has ever come to trying to replicate the magic of the Nemesis. To me,
Ustanach is like Nemesis on steroids. He is just like a tank, isn't he?
But
what he can withstand.
A tank is a tank that runs at about 50 or 60 miles an hour.
With a blood-stealing gauntlet that has attachables. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's like his utility belt. It's on his hand.
He's got shark repellent in it as well.
But my first impressions, that was a high point. And Leon's campaign, I had to make myself finish it. It started out good, and then it just kind of got meh towards the end.
See, isn't it the general consensus though? Isn't it about Chris? Not a lot of people like it's the kind of said it was like the Call of Duty of Resident Evil, and maybe that at the time Call of Duty was like it kind of going downhill a little bit. But at the time when Resident Evil 6 came out, Call of Duty, it was like Capcom were trying to cash in, weren't they, into that market?
So I actually, to be honest, when I played 6, I actually loved every campaign, and I'd done them both characters. So I kind of got into a big obsession with it. But I have to say, for the way the controls are, the running and shooting and diving and all sorts, because I mean, you can do all that with Leon and Jake. With how it kind of plays, I feel the game actually perfectly suited Chris's campaign for how action-packed it was. Whereas when I played Leon's campaign, I enjoyed it, but it felt like I should have been kind of Chris with the way he was moving. And with Leon, I was too used to the whole, oh no, there's a zombie over there, right, plan, aim, shoot. Whereas there, I was just running in, kicking his face down, stomping him on the ground.
Yeah, it helps that Chris has got those biceps too.
Oh God, them biceps.
You just want to punch everything.
Exactly.
Chris is a bit. I mean, that fight when Chris fights Leon, I'm kind of thinking, Chris will murder him.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that, except the Leon diehard fans. They're like, "Get him, Leon."
Yeah. I thought each campaign though had a special moment though. It's like Houston, I know when you're getting chased on Jake's, but I thought Chris, I really enjoyed the snake bit. I thought that was a pretty cool section in it.
Yeah, I quite like that. But or the final boss with Chris, where spoiler alert, don't listen, where Piers goes, obviously gets the virus in him and starts transforming, and I felt that was pretty cool, especially if you play as Piers. I actually redone the whole campaign just so I could be Piers at that one moment.
Oh, I went Piers the first time, so when I got them superpowers, I'm thinking, pick the right one here.
Yeah, whereas I was Chris, no ammo, and thinking, what the hell?
Look at him firing lightning out of his arms.
Yeah, and I'm here struggling with 10 pistol bullets and no machine guns because I just decided to waste them all.
I also like him. But I like Leon's because I had more of a traditional zombie. I think the only thing I didn't like on Chris when you start getting zombies with guns.
Yeah.
I just laugh when I see them.
What, where they're just blindly shooting the floor, then all of a sudden they get perfect aim. Chaos is right, by the way.
Yes, boom, for my knowledge.
Okay, I think I got some pretty good standout moments from you guys, and me myself. The Ustanak is, to me, that was the best part of that game. Like he's the one thing from that game that I thought that they nailed.
Yeah.
What are some? This is a tricky question because a lot of people, I think everybody should be asked this that complains about Resident Evil 6. What would you have done differently with Resident Evil 6? Tom?
Go on.
Right. What I would have done was, I mean, I love the way the campaigns merge, but I think that once you played one, essentially, apart from a few small bits, you've played them all. And it kind of got to a bit where it's like, oh, okay, then we're all ending up in the city. We're all ending up at this point. And I think that the campaign should have been longer and not so intertwined to the point where that you feel like every campaign feels the same.
You probably felt like the campaigns were spoiling each other.
Yeah, because I'd play through as Leon, then I'd see Chris here, and we'd be in that same pathway bit, except on the other side of a wall, fighting off them little exploding bots, and it just felt like it was just exactly the same thing when it came to being Chris, and you're like, oh, okay, so that's Leon on that other side of that wall, doing exactly the same thing as I'd done with Leon.
Okay, Rezi, how would you have?
Yeah. I think straight away for me, and it's like that with all Resident Evil games and scary games, I think once you go co-op, you lose that element of fear because you've kind of got someone covering your back. So I'm always straight off the bat, I prefer horror games and survival horror to be alone. I just think it gives you more tension. I just thought it was too international. I mean, it's like they all started the mission and they rang each other and said, "Everyone got your passports ready?" Check. And like
Chris's passport clearly has expired, being drunk in a mountain.
I don't even know where I am in the game sometimes. I'm thinking, am I in Russia? And then I'm looking, 1 minute I'm on the plane and I'm like, they're attacking a city. I'm thinking, where's the city? Are we in China now? And then I'm like, oh, we're in America. What? Do you know what I mean? Alaska? Do you know what I mean? I just kind of lose track of where I am. And I think I'm more a traditionalist in a sense of, like, for me, just a mansion in the first one, maybe an outhouse, was enough for me. A little underground. I don't really need to go to different cities and different time zones. And it's all... And I don't know, it got to the point where, like when the plane's coming down with Leon, and there's one bit where Ada is on the train and the plane just happens to go out of the whole city and fly over, and it's just all too cliche. It was like a Hollywood movie.
Too intertwined.
Yeah, it was. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Honestly, I think the biggest one of the biggest draws with Resident Evil for me is the atmosphere of the games. Like with a survival horror game, to me, atmosphere is one of the most important things, because if they don't nail the atmosphere, you'll never really immerse yourself in that world. And that's part of Resident Evil. Like when you're, the early ones, like the mansion and the police station, you kind of, the uneasiness kind of sets in because you spend time in those areas and you get acquainted with where you are, and and you just start to take it all in. And, it's almost like you're there. Whereas in Resident Evil 6, everything's so fast paced, and you kind of figure out from the beginning that you're never going to see this room again. You're just going to shoot up everything and walk away, and then shoot up everything in the next room and walk away. And you never really, to me, the atmosphere just doesn't really do it for me.
It becomes a little bit forgettable where you are. It's like a bit of a blur. Yeah, and you're just constantly running.
And it ties into what you said, Rezi, about how it's all over the place. We're in Alaska one moment, and then we're in, this big city, and then we're on a plane, and it's just in a graveyard.
I'm not even sure if it is in Alaska, by the way. So if anyone's saying there's no Alaska bit,
well,
there's a snowy bit in mountains and stuff, and it looks like some icebergs.
Yeah, I think everybody got the point. Like it's just all over the place.
Yeah. See, where I agree with you, but the only thing I'm thinking is you can't play the later, 5 and 6 in particular, like 1, 2, and 3, because essentially they are completely different games. You can tell by the fact of how like action-packed Resident Evil 5 is, and then it kind of carries on to Resident Evil 6. I think if you play it as if it is Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, then you're never going to enjoy it. As a standalone game for the action part, because I would never ever, if somebody said, "Oh, I love Resident Evil 6, it's great, it's a good survival horror," I'd say it's not a survival horror. It's an action horror for the fact that it's got zombies and monsters in, not for the fact that it's ever in the history of the world going to be scary in the slightest.
But you have to ask yourself then, who was the game aimed for? When Capcom
Exactly.
were doing it, I mean, I don't know if there wasn't a quote recently about Capcom when they're saying Resident Evil fans are too old, as in they can't let go of the older ones. I mean, I'm probably like that because I'm like 37 now, so I've been playing like for the whole 20 years. But I'm just wondering, who was the game actually aimed for? Was it aimed for the die-hard Resident Evil fans, or was it just trying to get that new audience in?
And that is a very good question. And honestly, I think it all comes down to the way the gaming industry has changed over the years.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair statement to say that it costs a lot of money to make a AAA game now. A lot more than it did. I mean, with the way graphics are and with the amount of money they poured into Resident Evil 6, I mean, you can see the money. It's that game's got some polish. But I think that, there was a lot of pressure on them to make sure that that game drew in as many people as possible so they could get a return on their investment.
Yeah, you can see that.
I mean, that's where the upgrade system and all the effort that they put into replayability on the campaigns. I mean, you can tell that they did a lot to cater to an audience that isn't a Resident Evil audience.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, I think ever since they updated it all from 4, it kind of seems to. They've kind of. I think they've in a way they realise that they're still. I think they're still trying to figure out a way to do 1, 2, and 3, but they don't want to go back on themselves. So they're thinking, right, 4 was a hit. So let's see how close we can get to it, but updating it, which is why 4 and 5 have kind of a similar play style, if you like. And then 6 still has that, but it's updated, but it was all carrying on from 4. But I think in a way they've then lost the survival horror, and then, like you said, updated with the industry itself, and gone into something completely different from what we see in 1.
I'm just going to say one thing about it though. I commend Capcom for it, and it's probably one of the reasons why I love Capcom, because I mean, they could have quite easily rehashed 4 constantly, but they kind of like just went for it and just attempted something. I mean, if you look back at the games, they're not afraid to attempt new things. They might not get it right all the time, but I would sooner have a company that attempts new things than I don't know, EA rehashing the same game constantly.
Yeah.
Or like Activision or something like that. So it never pulled off, but you got to commend for the effort, because you can tell there was a lot of effort that went in that game.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So maybe what I kind of get the impression almost is that 6, I mean, if you disregard the amount of money that clearly went into it, 6 kind of seems like it was one big beta testing for what they should do in the future. They had a survival horror bit with Leon, they had a complete action bit with Chris, and then they had a chase with Jake. And I think in a way maybe they were trying to see which one's the most popular, and maybe then hopefully the future of Resident Evil would be molded from it. And apparently, with the look of 7, not going into it too much, it was Leon's campaign with the horror.
Yeah, well, maybe like basically 7 is a result of 6.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That without what they had done on 6, that's what the end product is. That's what, and they've had to change it, haven't they? Really, with 6.
Yeah. I'm going to have to, for time reasons, I'm going to have to move the conversation a little bit forward.
Okay.
After Resident Evil 4 settled in and we got Resident Evil 5, I think that's after Resident Evil 5 was received by the fans. I think that's when a divide set in with the fan base, because by this point, I think that Resident Evil fans that have been there since the beginning were starting to feel like Capcom had forgotten about them, because they preferred the old style games, the originals, over the more action focused Resident Evils such as 4, 5, and 6. And all the new fans that were being pulled in by the later entries prefer the action over the survival horror, and the more, I don't know what you call those games. They're it's basically you're in a mansion and you have to find keys and figure out. It's more puzzle solving and ammunition conserving. Trying to make sure that they're more
kind of strategy and all that.
Yeah, they're more. You have to be more calculated when you approach an older Resident Evil versus a new one. So why don't we all share our thoughts on our overall preference? I mean, again, this is our own personal preference on whether we like the older style games over the new, or the new style over the old. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. For me, it's always going to be fixed camera, the old style for me. That's my ultimate. But saying that, I mean, I do love 4. I do go back to 4. Is one of my favorite games. So I have certainly got time for the other type of games. I mean, I love, like I say, the original ones, but I can quite easily sit there and play 4. But if I had to pick, it would always be the fixed cameras. I just think that gives you more tension, and it kind of takes the control from the player, but in a good way. Gives you more of that experience, that horror experience.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree there. I mean, I've only really played the one obviously right the way back when I was younger, and then I replayed it a bit more recently again. But I kind of got back into the series from 4 or 5 onwards, and where I do like it, when the remake came out, it made me realise for the remake for number 1 came out, it really made me realise just how much better it is as a game than the newer ones. I mean, I love the action. I like the whole. Well, I like being able to go in there and shoot, like you say, run through a room, shoot everything, and still get a half decent storyline out of it. But the old one, especially the remake with the updated graphics, was really. I think it is the better play style for sure.
So how I heard that is you respect the old games, but you prefer the new style, or you prefer?
Well, I think I like. There's a mix, really. I'm completely torn between it. I think the older ones are better. I think the way they are, the way they seem to play is a lot better, and you do get the whole, like you said, you have to plan every move you make. You're completely engrossed in the game. But the newer ones, I seem to like the movement. I like the freedom of it, and I feel like it just seems to get me more, especially with Mercenaries as well. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Mercenaries parts to 6 especially. So I think I don't know, it depends. I like the healthy mix, I suppose.
T-Virus loves everything.
I do.
That's a fair point.
Can't choose. I think they both have. I mean, like you said, single player and multiplayer. I mean, it depends on what you want to play it for. Single player, fixed camera. Multiplayer, so 5 where you got your partner with you, and 6 as well. And then Mercenaries, I think you have to have the freedom to do that.
And I think that those are all valid points. Me, obviously, I prefer the old style. Like, if I had to pick a favorite, like if they told me that from now on going forward you can only play the old style Resident Evils or the new style, I would pick the old because of the memories that I have with those. I mean, Resident Evil 1 was my very first survival horror game, and it's unforgettable to me. Like, I prefer the remake, obviously, because the original one now is so dated that it's honestly hard to play, for enjoyment. I mean, it's funny to laugh at the voice acting, but but I mean, the remake is functionally a whole lot more enjoyable than the original. But I think that T-Virus is correct in saying that the newer games, I mean, if you want to sit back and relax and play a game
with zero thought,
0, 1, 2, and 3, they're not really, at least for me, they're not relaxing. I mean, I'm tense. I'm
stressful.
I'm
especially Nemesis.
Yeah. Do I shoot this bullet, or is it going to bite me in the ass later on?
Yes, I have to engage the game a lot more versus 4, 5, and 6. You basically, okay, I'm going to have something to shoot something with. I mean, you generally have something, and even they have an ungodly strength. I mean, like you cut them with your knife, and then you can just roundhouse kick them. A lot of
Boulder Punch.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
Like somehow Leon and Chris and even Jill, when you play as Jill, I mean, they all have like ridiculous strength and can just, knock everybody down. So,
but let's go back to the Boulder Punch. I mean, doesn't that kind of somewhere where the whole series changed? I mean, imagine if your car broke down and you asked Chris for a push, because he can't push the boulder, he has to punch it, and he'll end up destroying your back of the car.
He's gonna dent your frame. Definitely.
Yeah, push. This ain't working.
I said, give me a push. What are you doing back there?
It's definitely going to be an insurance claim. But I do think that it's very good that we have a lot of different kinds of Resident Evils to play, because the more diverse the Resident Evil series gets, the more the fan base will grow, because everybody's going to have their favorite. So for anybody watching, we're not trying to sway your opinion. We want as many people to get into Resident Evil as possible, and I think that Capcom is doing a great job of being diverse and being open-minded. I mean, I can't think of a Resident Evil game they haven't made yet, outside of maybe a trading card game.
I'd love that.
Do you think though that is the goal? I mean, let's say Resident Evil 2 remake does go into fixed camera, and then Revelations over the shoulder, and then first person. I think I touched on this on the last podcast. Is that the only way they can do it, because they've done that many different games and there's that much of a crazy fan base. I love every one of them, by the way, the whole fan base, but it's so divided. Do you think that's the only way to go forward, is to kind of literally make a Resident Evil for everyone? If you get me.
Well, I'm so glad that the decision's not on me, because I would stress myself out trying to figure out a way to make the fans happy, because everybody wants something different.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay faithful to the hardcore fans that have been there since the beginning, when you have so many fans that you've picked up along the way that want something else.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, were you going to say something, T-Virus?
Yeah, sorry. I was just basically going to say I completely agree. I feel like they should. I agree with Rezi. I feel that they should do a cycle of games. So, like, like you said, they release a new Revelations or Revelations style game, and that will be over the shoulder. And then all of a sudden, a new, like maybe 7.5 or like 8 comes out, and that's a first person. And then all of a sudden they do something crazy and remake 0, or remake something, or even make Nemesis. A completely new game, remake Nemesis, or even make a completely new game and learn what they've picked up on the good points of their remakes, and then put that into an updated version of a new game completely, which is fixed camera. I think they should keep churning out different ones, because at the end of the day, if they perfect like one type of game in that style, then doing one every couple of years is going to be a lot better than doing the same thing every single year, and then fans go, oh look, it's another Resident Evil where you can run and destroy everything, and I'm just kind of getting bored of this, because we just played this so many times.
It just kind of stops the series being stagnant. Maybe that is a good thing, that they're being all over the place.
That way, old fans get something, new fans get something, and the in-between fans get it all.
Yeah, those old fans have been waiting since Code Veronica for a fixed camera. So we're next.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy that it seems to me like Capcom is finally starting to realize that their older games for Resident Evil are really what made Resident Evil what it is, and I think that's why they finally decided to greenlight a remake of Resident Evil 2, which I am very excited for.
Oh yeah, me too. I can't wait to see something on that game.
Yeah.
I think that's about going to wrap it up for this podcast. Does anybody have any idea where we're going to go next time?
Well, next time I think we're going to talk about the upcoming games. I think we're going to discuss about the new 7 and the remake, and we'll go into a bit more detail. I do believe Tofu will be back on board on that one, and I think he's leading that one, I believe.
Okay. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we hope to see you all again. And until next time.
Yeah, thank you everyone. I've enjoyed myself. See you later. See you soon.
Goodbye. Thank you.